Welcome back to You Can Do It, the ultimate repair of a KTM 300 starter system. New Bendix, new crown wheel have turned up. So let's put them in here and see how we get on. So we've got the new one out. Look, this is the look at that. Can you see that focus? That's a lovely little weld there. So that one is welded. So this is the 28 tooth 2016 onwards. Oh, and that's the older ones that weren't welded. That's a 27, that one. Look at that beauty. But even still, I'm going to take some of this Tipex and I'm going to put a little mark in two different places, just in case I have problems later and I can take it out. I can know straight away whether or not that's slipping, because I have heard instances where this weld here has actually cracked, but you can't really, it's so fine there you can't actually see it. But if you've got a mark there, then you'll know straight away if it's moved or not. So I'll do that. I've just got my trusty old Tipex out and I've marked that, you see. So now, and that goes in that hole, so even if that bit there wears it off, it doesn't matter, I'll be able to see. So now I'll know that if I have a problem with my starter again and I take this off and those marks have moved, then I know that this is spinning, which saves me a lot of time and hassle. So yeah, while that's, I've just put those on, so while that's drying, let's have a bit of fun and see what the different weights of the new bits are. Let's look at the original. The original was 265 grams, and the new one is 271. So we've gained about 6 or 7 grams, but then presumably we've lost some on the crown wheel. So this is original crown wheel, 93.3, and then this is the new one, 89.3. So okay, we were probably about a gram overall heavier, but it's a small price to pay. Right, and then we'll look at putting it back in there. Obviously I have to take out the old crown wheel before I can get the new one in, as the different sizes. So the new crown wheel is there, so I'll put this in there now. This is the new one with obviously 16 teeth. It's got 18. As you can see, that's smaller than that. So that's why you need to get the crown wheel, because you can't just change the Bendix. I'm going to grease that up now and we'll put it all back together. Okay, we're on to shimming it up. I've put the new crown wheel in there with a bit of grease in there. I actually probably need a new gasket, but I'm going to use the gasket I've got at the moment. So I've put that bolt in, but even that bolt, when you tighten that up, look, you see there's a bit of a gap there. So you need to actually have these all tight for you to actually shim that up properly. Now, I've already done the work for you. So when you look at your diagram here, one of these, which is the starter motor bolts, is perfect to fit in there and screw up and nip it up tight, because normally it's got this plastic cover on there with this bit here, which adds quite a bit of thickness, so you can't put the normal bolt in there because it won't tighten up. So I'm going to put that in there, and then what we'll use there is like a little, and even with that tight it won't close that up. I need to put a G-clamp on there, which I'll do that now, and then we can see how much play there is in there. But I've got some shims here if we need some. Okay, I've screwed those other two bolts up tight. I've got a G-clamp on there that's clamping up on the third one. So I haven't got my screwdriver with me, but if you look here, it's tiny little bit of play, but that's way inside half a tooth, which is the tolerance. So now I'm going to just pull this out and check that it runs freely. I've got the starter motor out now, look. That still runs freely, because I've just realised that you might shim that up and then by the time you've actually clamped the third bolt up, once you assemble it, that could take out all the slack, and actually you've ended up with a binding crown wheel. But that's all nice and loose now, and that's clamped up tight. And actually it doesn't need any shims in that at all, whereas the one I took off had 3 shims in it. So maybe, yeah, that is quite a thin gasket. So actually before I put it on, I'm going to go and buy an original gasket again and put that on, which might change it again. But that just shows you how to shim that up. Okay, new gasket's arrived. I'm going to put that on now, and now I can just shim this up. While I was waiting for that, I just sprayed up my bolts. I saw a little bit of rust, and I just sprayed them with an aluminium zinc spray to stop them rusting any further. So let's get on. I'll just take that off now. Put that on. So I'll put my crown wheel back in. Crown wheel's in. So we'll put the bolts in now and shim it up. In there, remember this one here is from the starter motor bolt, starter motor bolts. That fits just a perfect right length. I've got the clamp on the third one, and now we can just shim this up. Alright. So there's a little bit of movement there. It's nowhere near half a tooth, which is apparently the limit. What I'm going to try and do is actually I'll put a shim in there, one shim, and just see how much slack is taken out. Maybe it's too much, but I'll just try one now. Got the cover off, got a shim. I'll just try one of these. I think these are all 0.1 mil or something. But I'll put that on there. I'll just tighten that all back up again. I'll check the play again. Up again. Yeah, look, it's a lot better. That's enough. That's good enough for me. It needs to have a little bit of play in it, otherwise when it gets hot it'll just bind up. You see, that's not a lot at all. So that's good enough. Just checked with the KTM repair manual, and it says to basically shim this up until there's no play, and then take one shim out. So that's exactly what I've done. Look, so I've got a tiny bit of play there now after taking one of the shims out. So that's actually got 3 shims in it at the moment. And that's good to go, right. Okay, this is really, really important. So I've actually had to take out 2 shims out of here now. So I had shimmed it up. So that's just about right there. But I had shimmed it up. And I've had to then take out those 2 shims, because this is some trial and error tests, and I can't stress this more, is that I then tightened this up tight, and it completely changed the play in there, and it actually ended up binding it. And then what I found after taking these off is that it is possible, because of the size of those holes, there's a little bit of play, and it's possible to mount this ever so slightly so it's not completely flush with that shoulder there. So when you put this in, you've got to make sure that it's completely flush all the way around with that shoulder there, and then tighten that up with the other hand. So it's a sort of a 2-hand job to do that. So it's very easy just to stick that in, tighten that up, and it'll actually end up binding up the idler gear. So I don't know, but I'm sure there's loads of people that have thought they've shimmed that correctly, and then they put that all in and crank it all out, tighten it all up, and you're actually going to have a binding idler gear. You might not notice, but it's going to rob the starter motor of a lot of power, and obviously your bike probably won't turn over and you'll think it's something else. So that's something really to be careful of. Make sure that is dead flush with that shoulder, and then shim it up. So in other words, make sure you've put your motor on and bolted it up tight and it's flush there before you start shimming up your idler gear. So actually it seems like a simple thing to do, but actually there's a lot of areas there to mean that your shimming isn't right, even though you think it is. So that's about it from now. I'm going to just stick that on the bike, which I can do fairly quickly. You don't need to see me do that, and then we'll come back and we'll do the first start, see how this baby works.